We thought this time we would take the 47 Dodge pickup. Back now in the trusty little standard. Got the tin of fuel. Well, morning folks, it's a bit of a misty one today.
Oh, the joys of owning old things like this.
Ah, here's Daddy's braved the elements as well. What a great looking VW this is. Purring in. Triumph 1300 no less. There is one thing I would like to ask, please. Well, good morning all. Welcome to Old Classic Car, and yes, you guessed it, we're getting ready to go to another one of the morning meets that we regularly frequent. This time, the Crewe Heritage meeting. We get there as often as we can because it's a great excuse just to meet up and have a chat with like-minded car fans, and we thought this time we would take the 47 Dodge pickup. This one hasn't been out since... I think the last time we had this one out was when we did the video of collecting the concrete slabs that went down to form the base for Fred the Shed, Harley's second number 2 workshop stroke shed. So I think that's the last time we had this one out, so it's high time it goes out again. The V8 Pilot has had a lot of the attention recently for fairly obvious reasons, with trying to make it run right and start correctly, and we appear to be on the right track with that. So yeah, it's high time we took this one out and gave it an airing, so we thought we'll take this one over to Crewe in the morning. Mrs. OCC is firing on all cylinders again, so she should be taking the MX5 all being well, and we will take the trusty pickup truck tow meter. Shame about the colour, it's not quite the right colour, but it's got the right kind of vibe, hasn't it? So we keep that picture with the oldie pickup truck, but it's just such a lovely old original thing this is. Spent all of its life until it came over here in California, hence not being rotten as a pear. As you can see, if you know your way around these old trucks, you'll know they all rot out around the bottom corners of here and round here, but all the seams are in place. You might be thinking, oh, you can't use an old vehicle this time of the year, the roads are a bit mucky, and yes, they are a little bit mucky, but to be honest, with an old pickup truck especially, and a pickup truck of this age, the metal is so thick, you're not going to have any problems really with rot, as long as you don't allow mud to build up underneath, and if you rinse them down when they do get mucky, you're not really going to have any problems. And to be honest, they deteriorate if you leave them sat in the garage not doing anything for weeks or months on end, so I would much rather use it and just rinse it down and keep it clean just as often as we can, because the fun for me, as well as finding these things, is going out driving in them. That's what it's all about for me. Different people have different priorities, obviously. Some people like the shows, some people like the concours, some people like to restore them and then they just sell them as soon as they've restored them. But for me, it's the finding these things and using them and researching the history of them. That's what I really like about the old vehicle hobby. So whenever I can, I will use them, and that is what we're going to do tomorrow with ye oldie pickup truck and the MX5. What I do want to do is, I notice it's a little bit low on fuel, so rather than have to get some fuel on the morning, on the way over to Crewe, we will take the jerry can out a little bit later today, possibly after a hearty lunch. We'll nip out in the standard, give that a run because it hasn't run for a week or so. Take the jerry can, get some fuel, and then we can top up the fuel in this so it's all ready to go for tomorrow. We'll check the coolant levels, we'll check the oil, all the usual kind of things, just make sure everything appears to be nailed down and shipshape and Bristol fashion. We'll leave a few old chairs in the back because, well, it's just a handy place to keep them. That's the problem with a pickup truck, you do tend to store all sorts of stuff in the back, but not to worry. But yeah, what a great old girl this is. It's just such a treat whenever we take this one out. Like I say, I've known this one for many and many a year. I did wonder about taking a little Renault, but compared to the pickup truck, the metal is so thin on this that you really don't want to get it damp unless you really have to. So this one, I will make the exception and probably keep it off the roads for as long as the roads are mucky, muddy, maybe a bit of salt around, that kind of thing, because compared to the truck, this is so light. You know, it's such... I mean, it's not bad, but it's such a lightweight car. Because that's what it was built for. It's built as an economy car, designed in about 1944. under the noses of the occupying German forces in the Renault factory. It was done on a QT. They were strictly forbidden from designing new cars at the time during the Second World War, but the Renault engineers did it in the background anyway, without the Germans ever finding out, because they would have got very, very cross indeed. So these have been around since the mid to late 1940s. I think it was the late 40s they went into production. This is a UK built car, right hand drive, and a few other detail differences. But yeah, I think we'll wait till the better weather comes along before we take this one out, other than exercising it up and down the drive, which we'll probably do fairly soon, but maybe not today. The old Kismet baby foot pump was pressed into service the other evening. We had a knock on the door in the dark, just after tea time I think it was, and there's a guy driving his modernish Ford Fiesta just up the road from us, and he clobbered a really huge pothole and his tyre went down instantly. So he was asking if we had a foot pump that he could try, just to see if we could put some air in the tyre, and this was the nearest one we had to hand. I went over there to give him a hand with it, but sadly we actually found a really large hole in the sidewall of his tyre, so no amount of pumping was going to do any good with that. The roads, the potholes around here are just something to believe. You just wouldn't believe how bad they are. They've even made the national press. So bad are the potholes around here. So yeah, the old Kismet was fired into action, but sadly the tyre was beyond repair. Right, well, before we can fire up and move the Standard to go and pick up some fuel in the jerry can, we will just need to move this out of the way. So let's just shift this jerry can out of the way, because we don't want to drive over that. These are such handy things. Yeah. I think Harley left the key in. Yep, that's good. This is like driving a miniature version of Big Dodge, which is the Big Dodge is 1940. A couple of squirts on the accelerator pump, but we shouldn't need any more than that. We're a neutral floor starter in these. This big button here, that's your floor start. I think the battery's just a little bit weak, perhaps. Maybe a little bit of choke after all, just a bit. I think we'll probably put that on charge, I think. Right. 3-speed gearbox, so reverse is where you'd normally expect to find first on a more modern car. Handbrake's off. Right. Into first. I'll just park it over here for now. As is traditional, we'll give it a little squirt of fuel just down the air intake on the carburetor, just to help it along a bit, especially as it's been sat for a little while. I think there is a slight blockage somewhere in the choke circuit within that carburetor, so at some point we'll probably remove that. So we'll just prime up the fuel while we're at it as well. It's got a handy little priming lever down there, so that's really handy. And that pumps up the fuel. into the float chamber, which is this bit just here. And that's the pipe, that's the fuel inlet. This fills up, and then there's a float in there, and that rises up and shuts off the needle valve in there once it's full. And the needle valve and the float together manage the entry of fuel into the carburettor. So that's all primed up. So where's the, pop the air cleaner back on. So yeah, at some point I will take off the carburettor and just have a look. I did wonder about getting one of those ultrasonic cleaners, because they seem to be very popular for doing a very thorough job of cleaning a carburettor. Let me know in the comments if you've got any experience or recommendations regarding ultrasonic cleaners, because I think one of those would be very, very useful, because it agitates any dirt in passageways that you can't normally get to within the carburettor or fuel pump or whatever. Apparently they're very popular with jewellers as well for cleaning jewellery. So let me know in the comments if you've got one, and what you recommend, what potions and fluids you recommend to use with them when you are cleaning up old carburettors and that kind of thing. But anyway, let's see if it'll start up. Right, we're in neutral. Ignition on. Spot of choke. Of course, you viewers who are only used to modern cars now, you won't remember what chokes are, I'm sure. The ignition light's on, that's a good sign. Pull starter on these. I'll give it a little bit of throttle as well, that seems to help. Every car is different. Battery sounds a bit down. Battery sounds like it could do with a bit of a charge. There she goes. She hasn't run for probably a couple of weeks or so, I think. It has got some fuel in, so that's good news. It's very damp in here. You get all the condensation this time of year, which is never a great thing, hence the old towel over there just for wiping the windows down. But as it's not a bad day today, it gives us a chance just to leave the windows open, dry everything off, and yeah, that really helps. But yeah, well, it's not bad. Started up pretty well there. The battery does sound like it needs a bit of a charge though, so we will attend to that, I think, as part of today's list of little jobs to do around the garage here at OCC HQ. Just sneak it through here. We don't want any incidents. It is still a little bit tappy at the top end. I will revisit the tappet settings again sometime just to see what's going on there. But actually, with the fuel pump fixed, which was a problem I had a little while ago, thanks to a reproduction petrol pump, but ever since then, touch wood, she's actually been pretty good. I can't really complain at all. Need to give it a bit of a sprucing up sometime. Really, it probably is, I don't know, do we keep this one? I'm not quite sure. It's a lovely little car, and I probably would get in trouble if I did decide to sell it, although it would get replaced by something else, so that would soften the blow a little bit. We'll have to see. Let's have a quick check of the coolant. Remove the Everseal R4 radiator cap. A nice proper original cap. There we go. How nice is that? And it's not easy to see in here, but yeah, we've got antifreeze in there, so that's okay. That's all good. Everything appears to be bolted down. That's where the oil filter sits in there. It's like a replaceable cartridge. You whiz this off and then change the cartridge in there, but I imagine that was done not that long ago. If you've got long memories, you'll remember I changed the fan belt on it because that was looking very old indeed. I've done a few other little jobs around the fuel pump and fuel system in general. This was a reconditioned engine that was fitted sometime while it was still in America. I think this may be a Plymouth car engine, Plymouth and Dodge, they all shared pretty similar 6-cylinder side valve engines like this one, so it would have been a straight swap. There is a plate down there, you can see that red plate, the Jura built engine company, May Avenue, Los Angeles, California. It's got some details there of the bearings that are fitted, the main bearings, and so on. That's quite cool. I don't know how long ago that was done, but she still sounds really sweet, has excellent oil pressure and so on. Maybe that P is for Plymouth, who knows? Let me know if you know, because I'm sure many Dodge experts will be watching this particular video. The engine number also begins with PI8, then a star, then I896889, I think that is. Yeah, again, this is a smaller version of the engine in Big Dodge over there. This is 3-point-something litres, 3.6 or 3.8 litres, not that dissimilar to the V8 Pilot, but of course this is a straight 6, but also side valve. Whereas that one is about 5, I think that's about 5.4 litres, it's a 331 cubic inch. That's the big block Dodge engine, and this is a smaller block engine. Not exactly small, but relatively, this is the smaller of the engines that Dodge were producing in the 30s, 40s and well into the 1950s. So anyway, let's put the radiator cap on before we forget, so we don't want to lose that, do we? Right, there we go. There we go. Keep a variety of tools in the back of this one. We've got a reproduction workshop manual there, big old Ernest Lake bottle jack over there, various bits and pieces, a spare fan belt and other goodies, some fuel related parts in the old ammo case over there, a couple of 6-volt batteries too, just in case. We've got plenty of room to carry this stuff, so there's no point leaving it in the garage while we're out and about in it, just in case we have a problem. But right, anyway, I think we'll probably stop and have a bite to eat now, and then nip out in the standard, take the jerry can, and go and get some petroleum, some motor spirit ready for tomorrow's outing to Crewe. Well, it's turned into a lovely afternoon. We're back now in the trusty little standard. We've got the tin of fuel, so that can go in the Dodge. I also decided to roll out the 4CV, or the 750 to give it its proper name. Just give it a little bit of an airing, because you do get a bit of condensation in the garage, especially this time of year in damp old England. So any opportunity I get to move things out and just get a bit of air through everything, I certainly try and do that. At least the standard got to go out, that's good. So I'll go and put the fuel into the Dodge, and then we should be all ship-shape ready for an early start in the morning over to Crewe Heritage Centre, and we'll just see what else turns up. Well, morning folks, it's a bit of a misty one today. It's quite foggy overnight, it is starting to clear. But yeah, anyway, the MX5 is warming up in the background, the Dodge we've had running already. So, we're going to wander over to Crewe now, and I'll report back once we are there.
We lost the wiper. That wasn't very good. It was using obviously the vacuum to go like that, but eventually I think it got stuck up here. Oh, the joys of owning old things like this and driving them in such low visibility, but doesn't it look great with the old lamps on? Didn't exactly see where it went. Here it is.
Right around up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that. And then for some reason,
The wind might have caught it or something, I don't know. Well, you know, onwards. Onwards we go.
Well, folks, have made it to Crewe Heritage. It was a bit of an exciting voyage. It was very, very foggy indeed. We managed to lose the windscreen wiper en route. That made a bid for freedom, so we had to stop and go and retrieve that. Fortunately, Harley found that on the side of the road. I always say you don't really know your old car or old vehicle until you use it in all weathers, the dark, the rain, and in this case, the fog. It was very, very foggy indeed. So what are you doing with the wiper blade? Oh, yeah, we'll fix that when we get home, I think. We've only got a single wiper on these. It's vacuum operated. Ooh, there's the local twin cam Mk1 Ford Escort out for an airing. Haven't seen this one for a little while. Sounding fruity as ever. So someone else braved the foggy conditions on this damp Sunday morning. Well, that's looking very sharp indeed, isn't it? Wow, what a beautiful car that is. Right, let's switch the old girl off and let it have a rest. That was quite the drive over, I'll tell you. It's all character building, what they say, mad dogs and Englishmen, all that kind of thing. So we're here now anyway, and hopefully there'll be a few other things here as well. His dad, he's braved the elements as well. He was out last night over at the Avro Heritage Museum. They were doing a night shoot of the white Avro Vulcan that they've got on display there at Woodford. So he probably had quite a late night last night, so it's great that he's made the effort to come out this morning. I wouldn't have blamed him for opening the curtains and thinking, nah, but no, here it is, so that's really good news. Just let things cool down a little bit. Occasionally you get a bit of fuel vaporization when you go to restart, so even on a chilly day like this, it doesn't harm just to open the bonnet for a little while.
I watched it last night, someone put it on Facebook, he was sitting on top of the chimney, twice the size of that, he got an hammer and he was knocking the bloody bricks in the bag in his mouth.
Daimler badged version of the XJ40 is also here today, late 1980s. So what registration is that? Sort of about 1987 or 88, something in that neck of the woods. You can just see a couple of older Volkswagens braving the gloom. So that's the VW Derby saloon version of the, is that the Polo, I think? I've seen this one at the Commonwealth meeting a couple of times. What a great looking VW this is. I was just chatting to the owner about these really distinctive rear lights. Apparently these were phased out in 1955, and this is a 1955 oval window 6 volt, well it would have been 6 volt Beetle, it's been converted to 12 because it's on air suspension. What a great paint finish, what a lovely colour as well. Been told to have a look inside. Those Porsche seats, they look a bit Porsche seatish. How clean is that? Yeah, what a beauty. I'm just seeing the Granada has just arrived over there, lights ablaze in the morning gloom. Some really lovely details on these early VWs. The slopey headlights. And a very elegant mirror arm here. More arrivals here in the Nissan Figaro, and behind it that magnificent Mk1 Ford Zephyr that we saw here at the Off the Rails meeting only a few weeks ago. What a cracking old car this is. Super sound. Paintwork is still to be done, but what a great car, and this sounds phenomenal. It's a fantastic sounding car. Here comes the lovely little Ford Pop 103E. What a treat to see that here today. Escort, hotly pursued by Ford Sierra. Quite a few old Fords here today. Two great old 1950s Fords parked together. Suitably steamed up. Not much air ventilation on these. Some of the Fords had opening windscreens, but the Pop 103 didn't. No quarter lights either, so yeah, you either steam up or you drive with the windows down to get just a little bit of extra ventilation. Such is the way of driving in economy cars of the 1950s. There's a lovely old Zephyr 6. What a treat to see this. Such an unusual car to see now. Of course, we saw it for the first time here just a few weeks ago. I imagine the recommissioning work is continuing with every outing that it undertakes. What a great badge. What a lovely badge that is. Lovely Mark II Triumph 2000 estate now. Purring in. Another 6-cylinder car just like that Zephyr that we saw a few moments ago. We've got a Daimler DS420 limo here. This really was the last gasp of the old Jaguar Mark 10 and the 420G. That shares the floor pan with these mighty Daimlers. These are the 4.2 litre XK engine hiding away under that long bonnet. E-Class Mercedes. This one is on air suspension, it looks like, hugging the ground. A beautiful little grey Austin A35. What a little Bobby Dazzler that is. Isn't that a little gem? We've got a Mini Cooper S here, an R53. So what mods has this had then?
AirTech intercooler, it's had water meth injection, a smaller pulley, a cat cam. It's been mapped at 1320 Mini, about 241 horsepower.
Is it? Wow,
yeah.
That's not bad, is it? So where do you use this then? Do you take it on track much?
Most tracks, so all the parks, Donington Park, Alton Park, Mallory Park, Cadwell Park, do Kerberer in it, sprint course. We do a lot at Blyton with Frank's Charity Track Days, which is a really good organisation.
Oh, right.
He does track days, basically raising money for charity, like Mission Motorsport and all that kind of stuff. He's entering the race. There's a race at Anglesey every year, and Frank is actually entering that this year as a racing driver. And so, yeah, Racing Remembrance, there you go. But yeah, so I just use it as a bit of fun. I don't really compete or anything in it. I just use it for a bit of fun.
Oh, it looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
What a fantastic looking car that is. That looks very purposeful on those huge wheels. So what make are those wheels then?
Rotic Kyoshes.
Rotic Kyoshes.
17 by 9.
Moses.
I love the tyre writing.
Yeah.
Tyre writing is just cool.
The tyres do need changing now, they're pretty old.
That's a pretty purposeful looking Mini. I do like these Minis now. R53 Club Sport. 20 years old now. Good grief.
Don't touch anything. Really?
I bet many of you watching this video will remember the good old Ford Sierra rival to the Vauxhall Cavalier and the Vectra back in the day. In the pool of cars where I first worked at the cargo centre at Manchester Airport, there was the choice of a Citroen BX or a Sierra, very, very similar to this one. I bet most people watching this video have got some memories of Sierras, whether owning one or driving one or borrowing one. or simply being a passenger in one. And yet now there are very few and far between now. The gent who owns this one is with the Ford Nuts Car Club, so we'll be looking out for their club stand at one or two events throughout the rest of 2024, I'm sure. It's always great to see these survivor cars out at meets like this. There's a great little Austin Healey Sprite Mark 1. This gentleman sometimes turns up in his dark blue TR3A. If you've seen previous videos you'll remember that, but today is in that beautiful Frog Eye Sprite.
That one almost looks like Snake too.
Oh no, it does speak. It does speak. Yeah, yeah.
This is like
Saab 99 pursues a front wheel drive Triumph 1300, no less. That's a rare car now. There's the Fiat Punto Sporting that we saw just 1 week ago over at the Customary meeting. This is a Punto Sporting. Bit of information in the window here, so pause the video if you want to read a little bit more about this gem from 1998. Yeah, what a super clean car this is. The all important sporting livery there, the logo on the side. What else have we got? This amazing looking Mini. Another Mini has joined it. The Cooper S by the look of it. And here is this great little Triumph 1300 front wheel drive. Triumph 1300. This is a rare little car now. Nice quality little car these are. The thing I remember these for is the windscreen winder levers inside the door. They fold flush into the door. That's my abiding memory of these for some reason. I don't know why I remember that.
These have been sold alongside the Dolomite before.
I'm not quite sure when these were relative to the Dolly. This is a 1967, so these predate the Dolomite, I think.
So it was like the smaller Triumph 2000 or something.
Yeah. Looks really original, this one. I do love the Triumph World badges on the hubcaps of these Triumphs of this era. Yeah, nice comfy looking interior. Next to that, a Saab 99. Memories of Saabs, similar colour to the 900 Turbo that Dad had many years ago. My uncle had a 99L that he shoehorned a Dolomite Sprint engine into. That was an earlier car. This one's got 900 Turbo alloy wheels, same wheels as I had on a 3-door 900 Turbo in the late 1990s. I own that. But these are super comfy cars, lovely velour seats, super comfy. Nicely laid out interior. The ergonomics of these cars was really good at a time when people, or car designers, actually gave ergonomics a second thought, which doesn't seem to be the case nowadays. But yeah, real good quality cars. Front wheel drive, 1985cc, 4-cylinder engine. This would be the H series engine in this one, I think, if I remember right. They had the B series engine to begin with, but these were the H series engine, I think, weren't they? If I remember right. Yes. No, it's sort of on the Y. So this would be the 8 series engine, wouldn't it? Yeah. Sunroof as well. Yeah, you don't see too many of these around now, especially good ones. Yeah, velour trim. Yeah, it's very similar to what you had in the 900. Yeah. No, it's a comfy car, isn't it? And of course, with these, you have to put them in reverse to get the keys out, because the key goes between the seats. The ignition barrel is down there. And to get the ignition out, the key out, so you have to put it into reverse, which is a bit of a safety feature. Although saying that, it didn't work on my white 900 Turbo. The barrel was worn, so you could actually get the key out without putting it in reverse. And one day I parked it at work on a slightly sloping car park and went off to work in the office, and then I had a phone call from the security guy a couple of hours later to say that my car, which wasn't locked in reverse, had decided to roll down the car park into the back of one of the director's new Porsche 968 Club Sports. So that was quite exciting, because on those cars, on that 900 that I had, the handbrake operated on the front brake disc. So you put the handbrake on, then as the disc cooled, because the disc is also used by the foot brake, as it cooled off a bit, it had the effect of slightly releasing the handbrake. It was enough for the car to roll off on its own down the car park into the back of this brand new Porsche, which was a bit of a shame. I actually lost my no claims bonus without being in the car, which was a trifle annoying at the time. This was in the late 1990s, I think it was, that I had that particular car on the road. But yeah, really quirky, comfortable, and good quality car. Make a great daily driver classic, one of these would. Oh, a good old local Viva HC Pers interview, parking up alongside the little grey A35. So quite a nice variety of cars here today. I was a little bit concerned, thinking maybe there won't be too much here, as it was a bit of a foggy start to the day, but the fog appears to have lifted, so hopefully that's encouraging a few more people out. With the bonnets up on the 99. I think I'm right in saying that the clutch is at the front of the engine, so it's actually quite easy to change. In fact, the accessibility is really, really good. You've got a single carburettor there, you've got the distributor mounted right there. Nice and easy to get at. I'm always envious of anyone that's got a car with an easily accessible distributor, following the trials and tribulations of V8 pilot action that we've been engaged in lately.
What engine's this then, Dad?
It's a 1985cc 4-cylinder.
Am I saying that right? Is it like the Saab bonnets, don't they like move forwards as well as they hinge up or something?
Yeah, the bonnet sort of raises up and then it tilts forward slightly. As the doors open, we can have a peer through and admire the immaculate velour interior in this Saab 99. Yeah, that's in amazing condition, that is. Yeah, that's a really, really smart example. Of course, no sills on these cars either. The sill is kind of the bottom of the door, it folds round. Yeah, so the idea is so you don't get too much mud on your trousers when you climb in and out of your Saab. It's got seat heating as well. Yeah, it's an interesting car.
Interesting how the passenger's got a footrest.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Never seen that.
Yeah.
Usually it'd just be a bonnet, capture something there.
Yeah. Neat car. We've got the driver's eye view of Saab 99 ownership. Really distinctive gauges, really deeply set within the padded dashboard. But yeah, real wraparound screen on these as well, a bit like looking through a letterbox, people used to say in the old road test, I remember that. But it gives you a really good field of view. Again, not something you can level at modern day cars all that often now. And I can hear a very, very fruity sounding machine. What's this? Oh, it's a Harley or something like that. It's a VW Caddy pickup. Oh, the bonnet's raised on the pop so we can go and admire its 1172cc side valve 4-pot engine. There's the starting handle clipped to the bulkhead just in case. So even if you've got quite a flat battery, as long as there's enough juice in the battery to get the ignition light on, it'll start on the handle, which is really, really good. It's a slightly different air cleaner compared to the old Fords that I've had over the years. Yeah, all fairly simple, nice and easy to get at. There's a starter motor down there, carburettor, and the fuel pump over on the other side. All nice and easy to get at. This one's been converted to 12 volt, judging by the battery on it and the coil. So that'll certainly whiz over at a fair old rate of knots when you pull the starter knob. Yeah. It's always lovely to see this one out and about. We saw this one at Hopley House only a few weeks ago. Yeah. The Ford Popular. I know many of you like engine views in these videos, so let's have a look under the bonnet of this XJ40 series XJ6. When these first came out, they were available with either 2.9 or the 3.6 litre version of this, the AJ6 6-cylinder engine, and the 4 litre version came along a little bit later, and the 2.9 was dropped after a relatively short time. I'm not quite sure what size engine this one is. It's probably a 4 litre, I would have thought. So whereas the Daimler DS420 that we were looking at before has got the old XK engine, which can trace its roots back all the way to when it was introduced in 1948 under the bonnet of the XK120, this is a totally different engine. Fuel injected, of course, as they all were. These were also fitted under the bonnet of the XJS's, the non-V12 XJS's. But even though it's a fairly complex scene under here, some of it still looks recognisable. You've got the fuel injection over the other side there, but you've got a traditional distributor here, which is pretty easy to get at. And the acid test of any car as to whether it's worth buying or not is how easy is it to change the headlight bulbs. And this doesn't look too bad at all. You can get to the back of the headlights pretty well down there. Let's have a look on the other side just to see what the access is like around there, because I won't buy a car that you can't change the headlight bulbs on easily. Yeah, they're not too bad at all. You need thin fingers, but at least you can get at it. None of this silly business of having to jack the car up and take off inner wheel arch linings or the whole front bumper off just to get at your headlight bulbs, which I think is completely ridiculous on many modern cars, but this is pretty well thought out by the look of it. So yeah, access is actually pretty good under here. It's a big engine, but it's a big engine bay. And it's just started to rain. Marvellous. That's just what we need. Super clean engine bay on this immaculate VW. Well, the rain is now with us. They did threaten a bit of rain around about lunchtime, so I think we will probably amble back homewards. Well, there we go. 25 minutes later and we are back home, and look at the difference in the weather. It couldn't be more different to over in Crewe. Over there it was grey, foggy, even had the headlights on coming back, or at least about halfway back anyway. But yeah, what a difference. So I thought, well, I'll park it here. That's the sunny part of the driveway, so if I need to dry anything off, that's where I put it. It didn't get too wet, it was just starting to drizzle when we left. But I thought, well, a bit of sunshine for a few hours and it'll just dry off. Fortunately, it's not too damp in the back here, but that's something I'm always mindful of, is the fact that this has got wooden boards. They're hardwood. I think it's Crewe, something like that. They do need oiling up sometime. I've got some Danish oil, or some maybe when I do the boiled linseed oil treatment on it, I'll just do the wood as well. But anyway, that was a successful trip out, apart from the wiper blade making a bid for freedom, so we'll have a look at that and see about reattaching that. But yeah, it only has a single wiper anyway, and I'll probably get some of that Rain-X. I've heard good stuff of that Rain-X, which you can put on your screens and the water just runs off, so that would seem like quite a wise investment. Put some of that on, probably on all of them actually, because the wipers are always, they're never fantastic on these older vehicles, and especially when they're only small, and in this case vacuum operated. I think the Pilot's also got vacuum operated wipers, just like the Ford Anglia that we used to have, so they're always a bit not great. So yeah, I think we'll have a look at getting some of that Rain X, but for now it can sit in the sun and just dry off a little bit. You can see the rain beaded up on the aluminium nose trim there. And this job rated era truck, these were introduced in 1939 and built through to 47, and then after that I think it was the Pilot House era Dodges came into being. Very different looking vehicles indeed. The headlamps were incorporated within the front wings and looked a whole lot more modern compared to this, which is clearly a 1930s design. But yeah, she actually drove really, really nicely. Like I said, the last time out was collecting those concrete slabs, and this was a much gentler voyage, a much easier voyage on the old girl, and yeah, she performed faultlessly, so I can't really complain at all. So it can be drying off in the afternoon sun. And the same goes for the little MX5 as well. This one we've used so much now, so many events we've taken this one to. Very, very bonny little car, this one. Very, very different to the blue one over there. I need to give the rear bumper a wipe, because yesterday I was spraying some WD-40 inside the boot lid, because with it being parked outside you get quite a lot of condensation on the inside of the boot lid, and then the water runs down into the corners of the boot lid at the lowest points, so that's never good. So I sprayed some WD-40 around, but the downside of that is that when you put the boot lid down it dribbles down, and then when it rains you get this horrible sort of mush. But that'll wipe off, and I'm not too worried about that at all. As you can see over here, rain is something we've had plenty of over the last few weeks, and indeed the last few months. Wow, there are so many birds up there, making a right racket. Of course, the stander was out and about only yesterday when we went to go and fill up the jerry can with fuel, and this one went to the Off the Rails meeting over at Crewe Heritage just a few weeks ago. So it's had a bit of a rest today, and it was the turn of the pickup. Anyway, I think it's time for a bacon sandwich. Yes, I think that will suffice. Okay folks, well that's us back safe and sound back at OCC HQ. The Dodge pickup is back in the garage now, safely tucked away, ready for another trip out to a show, hopefully before too long. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, but there is one thing I would like to ask, please. Looking at the stats for the last 28 days, the last 4 weeks, I noticed that a whopping 84% of people who watch the videos are not subscribed. Now, on the one hand that's a good thing, because it means the videos are being presented to lots of people who aren't subscribers, so yeah, that's a good thing in its own right. But it would be great if quite a few of these new viewers who have found the channel perhaps in recent times and like the videos here on the Old Classic Car channel could subscribe. That would really, really help the channel grow this year, and that's one of the things that I really want to try and improve on this year, is convert viewers to new subscribers. If you're watching this and you haven't yet subscribed, but you like this kind of thing, messing around with classic cars, going to shows, tinkering on them, that kind of thing, please consider subscribing, because like I say before, that really will help the channel grow, and growth is a good thing, especially with YouTube, because if YouTube sees things flatlining or people watching videos but not subscribing, then they might not recommend the videos to future potential new subscribers. So a subscription, people subscribing, is a real thumbs up, a real vote for the channel, and that every time someone subscribes, that really just helps in a small way to help the channel continue to grow and survive. So if nothing else, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please think about doing so. Anyway, I hope this video was of interest. Please take a look around the rest of the channel if you're new to the Old Classic Car channel. There are lots and lots of videos on here, over I think 500 plus videos on here now, so there should be something for most people who have an interest in this aging metal. So thank you very much for watching, and many, many more videos along very, very soon. So bye for now.